Carolina, population 1,200. Just about.
What a great day.
Great day. I grew up in Brooklyn, Iowa, population 1,400. His father, as you all know, worked in a mill. My father worked in a grain elevator. His mother worked in a post office. My mother was a school teacher. John Edwards worked to put himself through college at North Carolina State, and I worked multiple jobs to put myself through college at Iowa State. John Edwards went to law school at the University of North Carolina. I went to law school at the University of Iowa. He's practiced law for 20 years in North Carolina, fighting for justice for his clients, many times against powerful special interests. I spent 24 years of my life practicing law right here in Waterloo, fighting for justice for the people I represented, oftentimes against powerful special interests. So as you can see, we have nothing in common. I first started following John Edwards' career long before he decided to run for the United States Senate. And what really impressed me about him was the way that he insisted on making the world a better and safer place while he was representing the people who were fortunate enough to have him as their lawyer. And then I followed his career as he went to the United States Senate, and I was so proud of him when he led the fight to get a Patient's Bill of Rights passed in the United States Congress. And I was so proud of him when he stood up for the Constitution and the rule of law during the impeachment trial of President Clinton. And when they needed someone to stand up and fight for justice, they turned to John Edwards. And 4 years ago, when many of you were trying to decide who you were going to support in the race for president, I was probably one of the first people in the state to sign on to be a supporter of Senator Edwards. And I did it for all those reasons we've talked about. In fact, I brought this poster with me. I still have it. One more week, maybe the outcome of the last presidential election would have been different if we'd had a chance to make that a little bit different outcome in Iowa. It may be time to turn in this sign and get a new one. One of the things that I'm so proud of is that you could probably say that my congressional campaign was born 4 years ago when I had 40 volunteers from all over the country work out of my office the weekend before the caucus. People from Arizona and Texas and Minnesota and Indiana who came here for one reason, to support this man and do everything they could to see him win the Iowa caucuses. Their passion, knowing they weren't going to be able to vote on caucus night for this man, inspired me to think seriously about a career in public service. But that's not why I'm here today, because over the past 2 years, I've spent a lot of time with all the candidates running for president on the Democratic ticket here in Iowa, and they're an extraordinary group of individuals, and any one of them would be a huge improvement in restoring the respect for this country. But we're 1 month away from caucus night. And as I sat down to try to think about who I felt would be the best voice for the people of this country, I kept coming back to a speech I heard on August 18th in Cedar Rapids. And I heard Senator Edwards say, "I will fight for people who don't have a voice. Working men and women, the disabled, the poor, the disenfranchised. That is the soul of the Democratic Party." And as I thought about the candidate that I wanted to support in this very critical presidential race, I thought about the criticism that Senator Edwards has received from some commentators for saying he wanted to fight for the people of this country. Well, you know what, folks? I want a president who's going to fight for the soul of America, because that's what we need, is somebody who's going to restore the trust in this country around the world and give people in this country hope and faith that their president believes in them, is going to be thinking about them every day he or she is in the White House. And that's why I'm proud to announce that I am endorsing John Edwards in the 2008 presidential campaign, and you are finding that out right now. So, I would like all of you to give Senator Edwards your attention and give him a warm Iowa welcome back in this very cold December day. Thank you.
Bruce, very much. And I can't tell you, first of all, how happy I am all of you came out today. Thank you for being here. It is a wonderful crowd. Bruce is right about that. And I also want to say a personal thank you to this man, who I have enormous respect for. I know for a fact, because he was very honest with me about it, that he's been pushed and pulled and courted by all the Democratic presidential candidates who would love to have his support. And I'm very, very proud, Bruce, to have your endorsement and support, because what you represent is in so many ways what I believe. And I think he believes, as I do, that we do have an epic fight in front of us, a fight on behalf of our children and their children, a fight to make sure that our party, the Democratic Party, doesn't lose its soul, that we stand up and speak for those people who desperately need us to give them voice. Everything from seniors, the disabled, the poor, the disenfranchised. That is, in fact, the heart and soul of the Democratic Party. And even when it's not popular, and even when it's not great politics, we need to do it, because without us, they don't have a voice. They have no one to speak for them. And it goes beyond that, by the way. If you look at what's happening in this country today, it's the middle class is also left and forgotten behind. Left behind and forgotten. Every single day, they're left behind and forgotten. And we have so much work to do to build a better America. To make sure that we do what our parents did, what our grandparents did, which was to ensure that our children have a better life than we have. To ensure that we leave America better than we found it. You know, Bruce talked about his dad. He talked about my dad. The thing I can tell you about both of our fathers, and I'd be willing to bet it applies to virtually every one of you, is they got up and went to work every day. My father for 37 years in cotton mills, just so his kids could have a better life. It wasn't easy. It was hard, but it is what makes America what it is. That's what we believe in this country. And that's the great moral test that all of us are faced with. It is. We talk about health care. We talk about global warming. We talk about tax reform, trade reform, the mess of a war in Iraq, all these issues, restoring America as the kind of leader it needs to be in the world. But at the end of the day, it all fits into that basic cup, which is, will we do what 20 generations of Americans did before us? Will we meet our responsibility? Because if we don't, we're going to have to look our children in the eye and say, we're going to leave this mess for you. That's not America. That's not who we are. It's not what my father did, Bruce's father did, and it's not what we're going to do. We're going to make absolutely certain that our kids have a better life than we have.